Long before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, another civilization lit the first fires of Italian greatness. The Etruscans rose from the hills of Tuscany and the mists of legend to build rich cities, command the seas, shape Roman kings, and then disappear into the very empire they helped create. Today, on Top 10 Gama, this is the story of the pre-Roman masters of Italy, told as a countdown. From the faint echoes of their origins, all the way to their number one, game-changing impact on history. Number 10. The mystery of their origins. When you zoom out on the Italian peninsula around 900 BCE, the Etruscans feel like a civilization that appears out of nowhere. Fully dressed, armed, and already talking in a language no one else understands. Ancient Greek writers tried to explain this mystery with big cinematic stories. Herodotus spoke of migrants from Lydia in Asia Minor. Others swore they were Pelasgians crossing the sea from Thessaly. Still others insisted they were pirates haunting the dark wine sea. But one voice from antiquity cuts through the noise. The historian Dionysius of Halicarnassus flatly rejects the foreign origin tales and says the Etruscans were native, an ancient people who shared neither customs nor language with anyone around them. Archaeology quietly backs that up. Before the Etruscans, Central Italy was home to Bronze Age cultures like the Apennine and Terra Mare, then a cremation-focused Proto-Villanovan culture that spread across much of Italy. Over time, that material culture regionalized, and in Etruria, roughly modern Tuscany, northern Lazio, and parts of Umbria, it crystallized into something new: early Etruscan society. What makes this origin story rank only at number 10 is that even with all this evidence, the Etruscans still feel like a riddle. Their own myths speak of founders like the brothers Tyrannos and Tarchon, and a prophetic childlike being, Tages, who literally rises from the earth to teach them the rules of religion and state. A people who insist they come from nowhere else, who worship a prophet born from the soil, and who speak a language unrelated to their neighbors. It is as if they are telling the world, "We didn't arrive, we emerged." That enigmatic beginning sets the stage, but their real power lies in how they turned that origin into a civilization. Number 9. From villages to city-states. To understand how the Etruscans rose, you have to picture their land before the cities. Clustered hilltop communities, fortified villages, and urn fields where the dead were cremated and buried with geometric designs and the first hints of social hierarchy. In some graves, plain cremation urns lay quietly in the earth. In others, jewelry, bronze armor, and horse harnesses shouted that a new elite had arrived. By around 900 BCE, this process produces something bigger and more structured in Etruria. Villanovan phase settlements grow from huts into more complex dwellings, then into what the Etruscans called methlums, city-states. These cities were not provinces of an empire. Each was its own political universe. At first, they were monarchies led by kings known as lauchme. The Latin lucumo comes from this. Rulers who combined chief magistrate, military commander, and religious authority in one office. Over time, in many cities, that monarchy gives way to annually elected chief magistrates called zeloth, supported by a network of other officials with specialized roles, from possible master of horse figures to overseers of public works and youth. What makes this stage so crucial is that the Etruscans managed to balance local independence with shared identity. Everyday people farmed, crafted, traded, sailed, largely shut out of high politics, while aristocratic clans, led by their principes, dominated city assemblies and monopolized state and religious offices. Yet, scattered as they were, these cities already shared a recognizable Etruscan culture, art style, burial practice, and religious mindset. The transition from scattered hamlets to organized city-states isn't just urban growth. It is the birth of the political framework that will later clash and cooperate with Rome itself. Number 8. Wealth, trade, and the Western Seas. If you freeze the map of the Western Mediterranean around the 7th to 6th centuries BCE, you see three major commercial players: Phoenicians and Carthage, Greek colonies, and the Etruscans. From the Po Valley in the north down to Campania in the south, Etruscan power stretches along coasts, river valleys, and fertile plains. Cities like Caesarea, Cairo, build ports such as Pyrgi, while to the north and south, other Etruscan communities plug into trade networks that connect Sardinia, Gaul, and Magna Graecia. They traded iron and bronze, grain, wine, ceramics, and luxury goods, linking up with Nuragic Sardinia, tapping into the Amber Road from northern Europe, and dealing directly with Greek colonies like Cumae and Pithecusae. The wealth pouring into Etruscan tombs, like the spectacular early 7th century Regolini Galassi tomb at Caesarea, stuffed with gold, shows just how lucrative this commercial web became. Etruscan kings and elites could afford to dedicate offerings at pan-Hellenic sanctuaries. One tradition says an Etruscan king, Arimnestos, was the first non-Greek to dedicate a throne at Olympia to Zeus. But with profit comes rivalry. When Phocian Greeks founded Massalia, modern Marseille, in Gaul, and later Eulalia in Corsica, they cut into Phoenician and Etruscan roots. The response was brutal and strategic. Etruscans and Carthaginians forged an alliance and confronted the Greeks at sea in the Battle of Eulalia around 540 BCE. The fighting was so savage that even though the Greeks technically escaped, they lost most of their fleet and eventually abandoned Eulalia, which Etruscan settlers then occupied. At that moment, with Corsica in their orbit and trade routes humming, the Etruscans stood near the height of their maritime power. Masters not just of inland Italy, but of key nodes in the Western Sea. Number 7. The League of 12 and a Fragile Unity. When people talk about Etruria, it is tempting to imagine one kingdom with a single capital. The reality is more delicate and political. A loose league that tried to turn a network of rivals into a family. The core of this system was the Mek Rasnal, the League of the Etruscan people, usually envisioned as a confederation of 12 city-states in Etruria proper, with parallel leagues to the north, Pedanian Etruria, and south, Campanian Etruria. Once a year, representatives from these cities gathered at the Fanum Voltumnae, the shrine of the deity Voltumna, to conduct religious rites and, likely, debate political and military affairs. The League could elect a magistrate, the Zilath Mekul Rasnal, to preside for a year, and in moments of existential crisis, a special dictator figure called Maxterna, Latin Mastarna, could be chosen to lead combined forces. Yet the League had no real means to force its members into line. Its authority was moral and religious more than executive. This fragile unity shows at key moments. When Veii, a major city and sometime capital of Etruscan ambition, went to war with Rome, other Etruscan cities mostly stood aside, especially as Veii persisted in a monarchical system many others disliked. Later, powerful figures like Avil Spurina of Tarchuna seemed to act almost like pan-Etruscan commanders, intervening in cities such as Caesarea and Aritim to crush revolts and install friendly regimes, suggesting that under the right leader, the League could feel like an almost unified state. But these surges of cooperation never lasted. That inability to transform cultural solidarity into military and political cohesion would cost the Etruscans dearly once Rome learned how to fight like a system, not just a city. Number 6. A religion that ruled everyday life. If there is one aspect of Etruscan life that even the Romans bowed to in awe, it is their religion. For the Etruscans, the universe was a constant negotiation with the divine. Every thunderbolt, bird flight, liver pattern in a sacrificed animal, or sudden lightning strike was a message from the gods that needed to be read correctly. At the core of this worldview was the Etrusca Disciplina, a body of sacred rules on how to interpret signs, structure rituals, found cities, measure space, and divide time. Traditionally revealed by Tages, the childlike prophet who emerged from a plowed field, and further shaped by a nymph named Veku, a powerful priestly college whose members Romans later called haruspices, guarded and transmitted this discipline. There were multiple priestly offices, men and women, which shows how deeply the sacred penetrated public life. In Tarchuna alone, inscriptions mention a college of 60 priests. Their pantheon mirrored and reworked Greek models. Tinia, the sky ruler, Uni, the powerful goddess of marriage and women, and Minerva, the goddess of wisdom and war, formed a central triad with strong parallels to Zeus, Hera, and Athena. Around them spun dozens of deities: Apullu, sun and health; Laron, war; Turan, love; Fufluns, wine and joy; Nethans, waters; and unique figures like Kotha, Tikum, Kultsans with 2 faces, and the masked Thyrsu. Even when they borrowed Greek forms, the Etruscans made them their own. Hercle, their version of Heracles, is no rogue demigod, but the son of the supreme gods themselves. This total religious framework didn't stay in Etruria. Rome imported the Etruscan art of divination wholesale. For centuries, Roman senators and generals would still summon Etruscan-trained experts to interpret omens before big decisions. A people whose gods had once ruled central Italy quietly moved into the background, but their invisible rules kept shaping how Rome read the will of heaven. Number 5. A society of elites, citizens, and remarkable women. Walk into an Etruscan banquet, and it does not look like a Greek symposium or an early Roman feast. Men recline on couches, but so do women, richly dressed, named clearly on the walls, and fully present in elite social life. For the ancient Greeks and Romans, this was shocking, even scandalous. For the Etruscans, it was normal. Their society was sharply stratified. At the top stood aristocratic clans, whose names appear in inscriptions, frescoes, and monumental tombs, and whose leaders sat as principes in city assemblies. These families controlled political magistracies and religious offices, deciding who became zealoth, who joined the priestly colleges, and who represented the city in league gatherings. Ordinary citizens farmed, sailed, crafted, built, and traded, while at the bottom stood slaves, people with no rights, whose labor underpinned aristocratic wealth. Yet within this hierarchy, Etruscan women of the upper classes occupied a noticeably high status for the ancient Mediterranean. They could own property in their own names, conduct trade, and retained their family names even after marriage, often displayed alongside those of their husbands in tomb inscriptions and artwork. They dressed in elaborate clothing, wore heavy jewelry, and are shown in art-sharing couches at banquets and participating in public religious and social events. This social model made Etruscan elite life feel more like a partnership between male and female lineages than in many neighboring cultures. It also left an imprint on Roman perceptions. Later Roman writers, influenced by Greek attitudes, often used Etruscan women as examples in moralizing tales, sometimes admiring, sometimes critical, because their freedom and visibility stood out against Roman norms. That distinct social fabric becomes one of the clearest fingerprints of Etruscan identity. Number 4. Language, alphabet, and the words Rome wrote with. If you listen closely to Etruscan language, it sounds like a voice from another branch of the human family. It is not Indo-European like Latin, Oscan, or Umbrian. Linguists see it as a near-isolated Paleo-European tongue, related only to a couple of equally mysterious languages, Rhaetic, spoken in the Eastern Alps, and Lemnian, attested on an inscription from the Aegean island of Lemnos. Together, these form what scholars call the Tyrsenian family. By the late 8th century BCE, contact with Greek colonists at places like Cumae gives the Etruscans more than goods. They get letters. The Euboean Greek alphabet arrives with traders, and Etruscan elites adopt and adapt it, reshaping its letters to fit their own sounds. Soon, inscriptions appear on tombs, votive objects, stone, and bronze. From there, the story takes a surprising turn. The early Latin alphabet, the one that will eventually become the script used across Europe and far beyond, grows directly out of this Etruscan writing tradition. Even though Etruscan texts that survive are mostly short, funerary inscriptions, dedications, a few longer documents, the language is visible enough to show how embedded it was in official and religious life well into the late Republic. Over time, Latin steadily replaces Etruscan in everyday use, and by the end of the 1st century CE, the spoken language disappears. But the irony is hard to miss. A people whose tongue vanished left behind the very alphabet through which Rome, and later Europe, told its stories. Their lost words ended up framing everyone else's. Number 3. Kings, wars, and the long duel with Rome. The relationship between Etruria and Rome is not a simple conqueror and conquered story. It is more like a long, tense drama where the older mentor eventually loses control of a gifted, rebellious pupil. Early on, Etruscan influence in Latium is strong. Etruscan patrician families settle in Rome and rise to power, and by the late 7th to 6th century BCE, even Rome's kings are Etruscan. Lucius Tarquinius Priscus from Tarquina, then Servius Tullius, and finally Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, whose brutal reign helps trigger the Roman Republic. From that moment, Rome's story is entangled with Etruscan ambitions and fears. After the monarchy falls, Etruscan kings and cities repeatedly try to bring Rome back into their orbit. Tarquinius Superbus seeks help from Tarchuna, Voice, and later from Clusium under Larth Porsena. Armies lay siege to Rome, win battles like at Cremera, or lose decisive ones like Lake Regillus. Voice becomes Rome's chief rival to the north, winning some campaigns and losing others in a grinding war that culminates with Marcus Furius Camillus' long siege and brutal capture of the city in 396 BCE, when its male population is slaughtered and the rest sold into slavery. Even when Rome itself collapses under the Gallic sack around 390 BCE, Etruscan cities like Tarchuna and others test the weakened republic, raiding, taking towns like Sutrium, and clashing again and again in a cycle of campaigns, raids, truces, and renewed wars. Powerful Etruscan leaders such as Aviles Spurina run multi-city operations, while Rome responds with dictators and consuls whose names will echo down Roman history. Battles at Lake Vadimo in the early 3rd century BCE, where Etruscan armies fight to the death under religious vows and are still broken by Roman legions, mark turning points. By the end of these struggles, Etruscan cities remain nominally independent, but are locked inside Rome's alliance system. The duel is over. The student has passed the master. Number 2. Rise, decline, and assimilation into the Roman world. Zoom back out to the larger Italian canvas, and you see the Etruscans fighting on multiple fronts as the centuries roll on. To the south, their Campanian cities face Greek power from Cumae and Syracuse, suffering devastating defeats on land in 524 BCE, and at sea in 474 BCE off Cumae, where Hieron I of Syracuse smashes the Etruscan fleet and dedicates a captured helmet at Olympia. This loss ends their naval dominance and accelerates their decline in Campania. To the north, Padanian Etruria falls to migrating Gallic tribes in the 4th century BCE. Cities like Felsina are taken and reborn as Bononia, capital of the Boii. Later, when Etruscans ally with Gauls and Samnites against Rome, culminating in complex coalitions and battles like Centinum, they fight hard but cannot reverse the strategic tide. Even when Etruscan cities bribe Gauls to attack Rome instead of them, or rally for one last stand, the pattern repeats. A decisive Roman victory, a forced treaty, and another step deeper into Roman control. By the 3rd century BCE, many Etruscan cities are tied to Rome through formal alliances. By 264 BCE, on the eve of the First Punic War, Etruria is effectively annexed into the Roman Republic. There are still flashes of internal drama, like the violent Roman intervention in Velsna that destroys the city's plebeian rulers and resettles patricians in Volsini Novae. But the game is essentially decided. During the social war in the 1st century BCE, Etruscan communities choose to stay loyal to Rome, and in return, their inhabitants are integrated as Roman citizens. Their cities, offices, and local elites continue for a time, but increasingly under Latin language and Roman law. In Italian terms, the Etruscans do not vanish in a single catastrophe. They dissolve into the superpower they helped shape, their identity slowly absorbed rather than abruptly erased. Number 1. The Etruscan Legacy: How They Built Rome's World. At the top of this list stands the most powerful, invisible fact. Even after their name fades, the Etruscans are everywhere inside Rome. Their kings once sat on the Roman throne. Their religious experts continue to advise Roman magistrates. Their alphabet becomes the skeleton of Latin writing. Their symbols of power, the purple-edged toga, the curved ivory chair, the fasces carried by lictors, blend seamlessly into what later generations think of as Roman. Roman aristocratic families of Etruscan origin, both patrician and plebeian, keep rising through the Republic and into the Empire, serving as consuls, generals, governors, and senators. Centuries later, Emperor Claudius, married to a woman of Etruscan descent, devotes 20 books to a work titled Tyrannica, a deep dive into Etruscan language and history that sadly has not survived. The language itself probably dies out by the end of the 1st century CE, but not before leaving hundreds of inscriptions and a long tradition of religious and political vocabulary woven into Latin speech. Most importantly, the Etruscans provided Rome with a model: how to organize a city-state, how to display aristocratic prestige, how to build monumental tombs and temples, how to read the sky and the entrails before marching to war, and how to imagine an Italian power that could claim divine favor and ancient roots. When Rome finally stood as the master of Italy and then of the Mediterranean, it did so walking on roads that had been laid, in part, by the people it had conquered. The Etruscans disappeared as a separate nation, but their fingerprints cover the architecture, religion, politics, and even the letters of the world that followed. Conclusion: from forgotten masters to top 10 legends. So when modern history jumps straight from Greek heroes to Roman legions, it is skipping the civilization that quietly taught Rome how to be Rome. The Etruscans rose from obscure prehistoric roots, built powerful cities, ruled the seas, crowned Rome's kings, fought desperate wars to hold back a rising republic, and then melted into the very system they had helped design. Their language is silent, their books are gone, but their impact lives on in the letters you read, the myths you learn, and the Roman institutions that shaped Western history. If this journey through the pre-Roman masters of Italy pulled you into their world, imagine how many other civilizations are hiding in the shadows of the empires you know. On Top 10 Gama, that is what this channel does. Take the names at the margins of your history books and put them center stage in a story you can feel. So if you want more deep dive countdowns into the forgotten forces that shaped our world, from lost kingdoms to hidden inventors, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and tell us in the comments which ancient power you want to see next. The Etruscans may be gone, but their story is exactly the kind of top-tier history this channel lives for.